Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar titled Driving Success, Tile Installation Solutions for Car Dealerships. I'm Jim Olson with the National Tile Contractors Association, and I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend today's webinar sponsored by Custom Building Products. Thank you. Before I introduce today's speaker, I want to remind you that during the webinar, you will be muted. Please use the questions area on your computer to type in your questions, and we'll answer those questions at the end of this presentation. If the audio on your computer is poor, please call the number on the invite to this webinar and listen on your phone. All NTCA webinars are available to watch at any time on the NTCA YouTube channel shortly after this webinar is presented. This will give you easy access to watch and or share all webinars, past or current, at your convenience. All right. Very happy to introduce today's speaker, Will White. He's with Custom Building Products, and he's their CSM Architectural Services Director. He's got over 35 years of experience in commercial flooring, including 20 plus years in manufacturing across technical services, marketing, and architectural roles. Currently, the commercial sales manager at Custom Building Products, he also built the Custom Technical University Training, CTU training centers, and developed its in-person and online programs. A long-standing member of the technical committee with the ASTM, ANSI, FCICA, NTCA, and WFA, Will frequently contributes to trade publications and presents at major industry events like Tyson Cummings. And I want to be clear on that. Will's title is Commercial Sales Manager at Custom Building Products. So Will, welcome aboard. It's good to see you, and look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate you as always. And thank everybody for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off so we can focus on the presentation. And I want to give a plug to the NTCA. They've been such great partners, not only to Custom Building Products, which it's been our honor to have the privilege to sponsor the organization and many of their efforts, but the organization itself and what it does for our industries. So, this really supports the tile contractors. It provides education, training, networking, and gives them a voice and able to sort out challenges and issues that arise, gaps between materials and standards and specifications. So a very good organization, and it's nice to see that it's grown so much over the last 5 or 10 years. And then some of the resources they have, this plays for all of us in the business, but the distributor, find a contractor, that's going to roll into our upcoming conversation, and even find a tile consultant. So large, intricate projects, the ownership and the architectural team can lobby to have a consultant that can make sure that they're present with the contractors and that the project goes smoothly and any issues or challenges are addressed. Another excellent resource from the NTCA is the reference manual, along with the technical committee. We participate in that. I do. It's a great committee. But the reference manual is the place where those challenges are addressed, those gaps between specs and manufacturer materials, etc., real job site issues. So it's just an outstanding resource, and it kind of is a piece that goes hand in hand with our other standards that we have available. So if you don't have this, I strongly suggest that you pick this up. You can get it digitally or you can get it in print, and it's very reasonably priced. Now, a plug for Custom Building Products. Over 60 years in the business, started right here out west in Southern California. Always been a focus to provide, go above and beyond the needs of the contractor and the distributor customer. Without good quality partners, your business won't grow. So that's still a primary focus for us here at Custom Building Products. Since the acquisition by Quikrete, we've grown exponentially. It's given us vast resources to tap into, vertical integration. So we're very strong and very healthy organization, which makes us a great partner to our partners. The menu, I like to call this the menu. To do any project, it's going to be fairly simple if you have a process. In this case, I'm calling it a menu. So we start with planning, specifications, drawings, approvals for systems, and then ultimately results into a formal submittal package. Surface preparation products and systems that are designed to overcome and remediate any of the challenges on the projects. Installation or setting, be it adhesives or thin set mortars for tile and stone, complete line there. And then, of course, grouting and sealant materials. And then we can never forget the care and maintenance. Maintenance on the commercial side is still a challenge, but the products and systems are there and everything is relatively simple. So, developing the specification for auto dealerships. The architects are driving the bus. They own the show. Trying to create a durable and safe space is probably the easier part, but trying to combine that with the aesthetics of a stunning project for the ownership, merging those elements together, definitely can be a challenge at times. It needs to be appealing, but yet, there are some particulars with auto dealerships, especially the torque on the car tires, not so much the load, but yes, the load, even though it's fairly moderate. Service areas, this is where things can get much more aggressive. Definitely heavier loads, impacts, and then the ever persistent chemical exposures, and then as well as, the chemical cleanup. Definitely needs to be designed to sustain and withstand those elements. There we go. Customer lounge and office spaces, aesthetic, light traffic, but definitely needs to be an element that's designed in and integrates with the rest of the space. And then we have qualified labor. So we've got the design, the spec, and now the architect needs to factor in qualified labor. However, there's a challenge there because the architect does not get to control that piece. They don't get to select the bid for the project or the contractor that has submitted it. However, the contractor or the architect can leverage contractor selection through the specification by placing qualified language in the right place. So, what is qualified language? Well, it kind of goes back to the NTCA as one organization. They have a 5-star member program. It's actually very rigorous for a company to qualify to get that membership approved. They have to have long history. It's thoroughly vetted. They have to have certifications, insurance, etc. So when you have an NTCA 5-star member contractor on your project, it should give you a bit of a peace of mind that they have the experience and they have the capability to execute. For the union side, it would be the International Masonry Institutes. And for certifications that kind of go hand in hand with 5-star, you've got the Certified Tile Installer Program, kind of oversighted by NTCA, but administered by the Ceramic Tile Education Foundation. And then you've got the ACT Certified Tile Contractor. This bridges both signatory or union and non-union administered through CTEF and through NTCA. So there are programs out there. There is language out there to help ensure that the project will receive a qualified labor contractor that's been awarded the bid. So the architect determining the level of use or abuse, as I like to call it, needs to determine a proper specification. So one of the first stops that I recommend is into the TC&A handbook. And you can go to the using the handbook for specification writing, but I'm going to cut right to the chase. There are two key places that can help qualify materials and systems that are suitable for areas of use determined on level of service. So environmental exposure classifications, these are based on moisture exposure and weather exposures. So this will classify your project and then subclassify certain areas based on those exposures. The other is determining the service rating in the TC&A handbook. Now this goes hand in hand with ASTM C627 or the Robinson floor tester. And this is a fairly rigorous test. It scales up, as you can see, ultimately landing with steel wheels and 300 pounds per caster. And it takes quite a bit for an assembly to achieve all 14 cycles without damage. And then it would be rated as extra heavy. So what does that mean, extra heavy? Well, you can see the classifications broken down. The obvious residential is going to be a light duty environment, light duty service rating, and then it just scales up from there. Your office space into moderate, and then all the way into industrial manufacturing at the extra heavy level. Now for auto dealerships, they're going to land in that heavy category, shopping malls, etc., commercial kitchen spaces. So you can see that an auto dealership actually does have, some heavy impacts on the overall assembly throughout its life cycle. So the assembly needs to be built accordingly. And I want you to note that once you leave that light commercial category, wood subfloors are not recognized as suitable substrate. So wood framing, once we go into moderate and up into heavy, you're all concrete based. So on grade, above grade, etc., but concrete substrates. So now the architect needs to think about the tile. The tile needs to be commensurate with the service rating. And typically we're into that porcelain tile category now. So who manages oversight on porcelain tile? Well, that would be ANSI, or the American National Standards Institute, A137.1. So the architect needs to be concerned that it has the internal composition to sustain loading, impact, point, and rolling loads. Also, water absorption needs to be as low as possible to prevent staining or any contaminants building up in there. Also, the abrasion resistance is a key piece. And then ultimately, the slip resistance. Hopefully that's not overlooked, and in most cases we don't find it. However, we do find it intermittently that a tile has been specified and is not suitable for that application because it doesn't meet slip resistance criteria. IPA Laboratories, a little plug for them. They do certified porcelain testing. I know a lot of the major manufacturers have their tiles sent there and are certified. They have a stamp that goes onto the packaging and onto their technical data sheets. So as the architect receives submittals or specifies those products and reviews the technical data sheets, they're aware of the fact that, yes, this is a certified porcelain, so therefore it meets all that criteria. Slip resistance, also done at IPA Laboratories, or interesting and conveniently enough, and why we ran with this, can also be done on site. Isn't specific to tile. It's specific to all hard surface materials. So I'm going to play a quick little video. If you've never seen the BOT 3000 in action to determine DCOF rating, this is it, short and sweet.
When conducting a wet test, we wet the area to be tested. In this case, we'll conduct a static coefficient of friction test. So we'll press the SCOF button and then hit go. The bot makes several measurements and averages them. And now we can take a look at the graph of the results on the screen, and we can print the results. The screen display takes us step-by-step through the process of running an official American National Standards Institute, or ANSI, test. Pressing any button turns on the display, and then we have a choice of either running a static or dynamic coefficient of friction test. Let's choose dynamic, and then let's run the ANSI A137.1 test method, which is the official test method for testing indoor flooring according to the latest 2012 International Building Code. Press go, and it makes its first of 4 runs. We then reposition the bot according to the on-screen directions, which is telling us here to run the test again in the opposite direction, or rotate the bot 180 degrees. When we've completed all 4 runs, we have completed the official test method.
And there you have it. So, data points, printouts, whatever. So that brings us to the standard, which is now ANSI A326.3. And by the way, that is a free download. So you can go to the ANSI or the TCNA websites and download that for free. So now we have categories broken out and decoff requirements, both wet and dry. And you can see here for auto dealerships, showroom would be dry and level interiors. Wet level interiors would also be applicable, cafeterias, restrooms, entryways, etc. And then exterior applications would be service bay reception areas for vehicles and pedestrians, as well as any exterior showcase areas that have a tiled finish. And then oils. You have oil contamination, fluids, etc., which are different than just water. So it's nice to have a rating there, makes sense. And that would obviously be applicable to the staging, or I'm sorry, the service bay areas in auto dealerships. And then ramps and inclines, also applicable. And you can see the higher rating requirement. So all makes sense, very sorted, and should be applied. Now I want to move to the concrete. Let's talk about concrete. Why concrete isn't flat when the floor covering installers get there? Well, the American Concrete Institute recognizes that as concrete hydrates, it loses moisture, it generates heat of hydration, so there is movement in the concrete right out of the gate. So you get an expansive nature initially from the heat of hydration, and then you get contraction from thereafter based on water loss and continued hydration of the cement in the concrete. What does that mean for the floor finish? Well, it means the plastic shrinkage and the ongoing plastic shrinkage, and I say ongoing, this happens, it continually is taking place under flooring assemblies, not just in the first 2 months, 6 months, or even 18 months. So materials that we specify are designed to address that ongoing plastic shrinkage that we expect in that concrete slab, whether it's on grade or above grade. Now, curling can happen as well, and we'll talk about that shortly in remediation conversation. So what are the requirements for the substrate? Well, it can be quite lengthy, and it's in ANSI, also in the TCNA handbook. But to make it short and simple, it's sound and stable and free of any contaminants, including surface applied or integral curing compounds that could prevent adequate adhesion to the concrete slab. And then the other piece is flat, not level, but flat. Flat is a requirement of all floor finishes, and it's typically the challenge that's faced when it's time to install the floor coverings. Now I've put on the screen the different organizations and the relevant floor finishes, current flatness requirements. So for soft goods or resilient flooring, carpet tiles, it's going to be 3/16 of an inch gap under a 10-foot straight edge minimum. Understand that manufacturers' requirements will trump the industry standard requirements. And typically they're either in alignment with, or they may be slightly more stringent, meaning some resilient floor covering manufacturers, because of the size of the module, may require a 1/8 of an inch gap, which means it must be flatter than a 3/16 inch gap under a 10-foot straight edge. And then for wood flooring, you can see it's in a radius, not linear. And then you can see down on the bottom for ANSI and TCNA requirements for large format tile, 1/8 of an inch and 10 feet, which makes sense. They're square, rectangular, hard, flat, rigid. They don't bend. So the surfaces that we install these and bond these to must be flatter. So how do we get there if the concrete's not flat? Well, we're going to use self-leveling underlayments, or as we like to call them in the technical committees, flowable hydraulic cement underlayments, because that's what they are. The problem with self-leveling title is it alludes to the fact that we're going to level the floor. That's not the case. That's not what is required. Leveling the floor can be prohibitive with elevations, transitions, and is not necessary in most cases. So adding the flowable hydraulic cement underlayment, which is exactly what it is, to the standard made sense and kind of recreates expectations of ownership that the use of these products and systems are just designed to meet flatness requirements, unless there is a need to create a level space. And then from there, after a job site assessment, level spaces can be made with these products and typically cost more money. So this is how we remediate the slab. We fix that concrete. We make it flat by using these products. Now, bonding mortars, just a quick flyover. There's two different categories of bonding mortars, two different categories based on strength and performance. So your entry level, your 18-4 modified dry set cement mortars do have polymer modification to help assist to bonding to porcelain tile, which offers some nominal levels of flexibility for ongoing movement, but their shear strength requirement is greater than 200 PSI. And when you think about it, that really is quite a bit of strength. Bonding a 12 by 24 tile to a concrete slab, you take the 200 pounds per square inch and average it out. It takes a lot of force to move or break that tile and shear it from that bond. However, these are entry level. This is not what we would recommend or specify for that heavy service requirement of an auto dealership. We would instead specify an improved modified dry set cement mortar. What does that mean in nuts and bolts? Well, that means you're going to get double the performance in way of shear bond strength. But I think an added advantage, and kind of even more maybe important, is the higher polymer loads, which gives the overall assembly the capability to move with the structure. So walls, floors, as the concrete continue to move, thermal cycling as things expand and contract from weather and temperature conditions. These are the bonding mortars that give you the most performance to address those service conditions. So let's go into showrooms and cut to the chase, will you? So on-grade, bonded on-grade applications, we would remediate with the self-leveling underlayment. That's ANSI AMO 8.16. Don't forget the primer. Primer always goes with your self-leveling underlayment. We would specify a bonded crack isolation membrane that helps mitigate stresses from that ongoing concrete plastic shrinkage. And then we would use that improved modified dry set cement mortar as the bonding mortar. And then for the showroom, we would recommend using the new pre-mixed ANSI AMO 8.19 category, but not new product. These products have been around for over 12, 13 years now. So a lot of history, a lot of improvements, but these products don't require sealing. And because they don't require a sealer type application to prevent staining, they won't stain from your average contaminants, your household or office type contaminants, coffees, etc. And then of course we would specify an ASTM C920 commercial silicone sealant for your perimeter movement joints and your integral movement joints, which we'll get into here shortly. Service bays. this is where the abuse takes place. So first of all, we're going to need a slope to drains. Create some slope. We don't need flat. We need flat, but we also need slope to drain. So to get there, we'll use a polymer modified mortar bed that meets ASTM C387 and ANSI A10801. Then we would recommend the waterproof membrane, ANSI A118.10, and then we would get into epoxy bonding mortars. We could use an improved modified here, but it's all based on anticipated chemical exposure. So for high chemical exposure, we would recommend epoxy bonding mortars that meet ANSI A118.3. And then ironically enough, the epoxy grouts would be the recommendation as well, again, for that chemical exposure within the same category, ANSI A118.3. And then back to the ASTM C920, commercial 100% silicone. Restroom areas. So this is wet or intermittent wet areas based on maintenance protocols. But there is some mild chemical exposures from the human element and from the cleaning element. So here we would also recommend a bonded mortar bed for the floor applications to create that slope to drain, a waterproof membrane as well to protect the assembly, and then the improved modified dry set cement mortar, a pre-mixed single component grout here instead of or in lieu of epoxy. So historically, we would use epoxy in these areas for that chemical exposure, but we know that since it's in a mild category, those pre-mixed grouts can sustain there and will prevent staining and saturation into the assembly. And then your commercial 100% silicone sealant as well for your movement accommodation. For the walls in the restroom, bonded waterproof membrane at the very least to meet code, if not complete to the top of the tile assembly to protect wall cavities. And then the improved modified dry set cement mortar, a pre-mixed single component grout, also saving money on the epoxy. And then the commercial silicone sealant. Now for ramp and exterior, even interior ramps, like in parking, garage, service bays, etc., we want to remember that we want to use the DCOF rated tile that meets those area of need. So auto dealership, interior, external, we would use a mortar bed if as needed. Then we would use a waterproof membrane and an improved modified dry set cement mortar. And here for exterior service conditions, we would turn and recommend a high performance cement grout. That meets your budget needs and gives you the best performance. Epoxy would be a bit of an overkill here. So that would be the recommendation. And of course, along with your silicone sealant. Your financing and insurance departments in your auto dealerships, well, they would be the same specification as a showroom. They see the same service conditions. But let's get to maintenance. Kind of a key piece here, one of the most overlooked. Don't ask me how. We write tons of these maintenance schedule specifications with products, recommendations on auto scrubber machines, brush heads, etc. And if they were used, they would never have an issue. But we still see a gap. We see janitorial chemicals being used that are improper. They're highly alkaline or they're highly acidic. Both, if you go either way, are equally corrosive, not only to the grout, but to the tile. So focusing on your maintenance schedule and specification is key to maintaining warranties. So protecting the ownership with warranties and then making sure that the maintenance schedule makes its way from job site closeout documentation into janitorial, into their hands so they know what they should be using for that application. Speaking of submittals, this is a key piece. So the architect does all the work to specify. The manufacturers working with the selected contractor, the awarded contractor, can put together a submittal package, making sure that all the products that we just kind of went through meet those suitable service ratings, are in compliance with the architect specification, and include letter of intent or warranty drafts, detailed drawings for all those different spaces that we looked at, technical data sheets and safety data sheet submittals for all of the products, health product declaration documents for all of the product, Green Guard documentation certificates that outline these products are low to no VOCs and meet requirements and guidelines and are sustainable, and lead documentations. Now, lead documentations have to be done on a project by project because it's relevant to the project location and the manufacturer's location. And for that reason, we have an online portal submittal process for that. So you can self-serve or you can contact your custom building products representative and they can help you with that for your project. So here we have a BMW project submittal that kind of runs through your suggested submittal package, the products, the standards, compliancy, the areas of use, the letter of intent or warranty draft. And then once the project is completed, submittal will be done by the contractor using a validation form, and then the official warranty certificates will be issued to contractor and ownership. Drawings can be generic and emulate or mimic TC&A drawings, or they can be customized as needed. So you can get with your custom rep to have those done. We have an installation challenge and solutions white paper that we put together specific to auto dealerships, relevant to this conversation. Kind of touches on a lot of the things I've already covered. And then the submittals also include the technical data sheets, the SDS, the HPDs, the green guards, and we touched on the lead documents. So done correctly, specification written correctly, qualified labor, NTCA 5-star member. These tile installations will last forever. They will last longer than anybody wants them to. And I love this shot. This is a classic shot. Look at the size of those floor tiles. But it's true. Built correctly, you know, a tile life cycle would be 75 years and could definitely last that long, but nobody's going to want to wait that long. And the nice part about it is done correctly. In most cases, we can put tile directly over tile. So custom portfolio, we have the surface prep products that I covered. We have adhesives for soft goods sides, wall base, FRP, wallboard, etc. And then we have our well-known tile installation line to support your auto dealership specification needs. And along with that, we get the architectural support I've just covered. And then most importantly, when it comes to that qualified labor piece, we have great relationships with qualified contractors all over North America. And we spend a lot of time at mock-up stage and pre-con meetings to make sure that they're comfortable with the spec, the submittal, and the products for use and systems on that project. We have our mobile app, our website, where you can navigate and get all of this information. And then we have our lead site for those submittals we talked about. We have YouTube channels for the contractors and their crews to brush up on using our products and systems. And then we have an online training learning management system that's self-register, self-paced, self-reporting, and you can access this right through our website portal. We put a lot of effort into this. It's standard-based, it's not selling-based, so a lot of valuable information there, even for the architectural and design community. And then, of course, last but not least, and most importantly, our relationship with the National Tile Contractors Union Association, rather. We value that greatly, and we participate in as many of the programs and trainings that they offer across the country. If you're not aware, please log in and look at their events calendars. They've, I don't know, over 100 sessions between workshops and regional trainings annually. and very, very valuable to not only the contractors, but to architectural and design community as well. So with that, Jim, if you're still with me and you're not napping or having a bite to eat, I'll take any chat questions if we have any. I was pretty thorough, but let's let them fly. What do you got?
Before we go to questions, I just want everyone to know, Will mentioned about over 100 training events across the country. We do over 350 training events. So look on our calendar and see when we're coming to a city near you and attend. It's a great way to improve what you do. And even for an architect, designer, and a designer, please come in and see, ask questions, and be there. Will, you did a fantastic job. I feel like I could go bid on a car dealership right now after that.
No
A lot of
problem.
great information.
Hey, Jim, at our age, the mind is willing, but the body's a little bit of a different story. We'd have to have a good crew to get that one done.
We'd have to hire a crew. You and I aren't doing it, that's for sure. All right, we got a question here. It says, with larger and thinner tiles being used more with each passing month, is there any downside to vibrating floor tiles in to help achieve closer to 100% coverage?
Absolutely no problem with that. I mean, the goal is always 100%, but the reality, and it's in the language and the standards, and you're not going to get 100%. But using vibratory tools, absolutely. There's a few out there. The Batil Pro, I like that one. They work quite well. And for thinner or gauged porcelain tile panels or gauged porcelain tiles, smaller format, it works very well. And for the panels, it's a requirement. I mean, you're not going to put a panel on a wall and get good transfer and coverage without using a vibratory tool, for sure. And I did mention that done correctly, those tile assemblies in auto dealerships, you can go tile over tile. And we're seeing quite a bit using panels over existing tile assemblies. So, I mean, the value to ownership to get qualified labor it's just, you can't put a number on it, really. So now they don't have to spend the hundreds of thousands of dollars in demolition, the associated damage, and more importantly, the downtime to do a remodel. So panels over existing floor tiles, excellent choice.
I just want to stress that to everybody. You have to use a vibrating tool of some type with those large panels. You know, you're talking about some of these panels that are 5 foot by 10 foot, you know, they're huge, and you can't press that in with your hands, or even 10 people pressing it with their hands, and it has to be done properly. So yeah, very, very important, very important. Will, oh, here we go. We got one right here. Could you go over your recommendations for compliance with EJ 171 requirements relative to architects, designers, and car dealerships?
Oh my God, thank you. I intended to put the EJ 171 in the deck.
Yep.
And actually had it in there in draft form, but for some reason we had a little issue. But if you go to custom YouTube channel, you'll see a excellent movement joint video that our senior technical director, Mike Michelizzi, put together. And last I heard, Jim, I thought we were talking about doing an NTCA movement joint video as well, similar to the trial and error video.
Well, there's a lot of initiatives that we are still looking into and working on, and Will, that would be one we'd love to do. And I know Mike Michelizzi has also reached out asking to get a start time for that, and you and I'll have to discuss that, but look forward to something coming out soon. That would be great.
Yeah, so if you go to our website and you cover movement joints, I mean, I could play the video, we have plenty of time, but the reality is they're not just essential, they're required. So,
Yep.
you know, you've got to have those in the assembly. Like I'd mentioned, all the perimeter areas, any restraints or abutments need to have movement joints designed into the assembly. But let me, if you don't mind, Jim, I'm gonna play, can I play a snippet?
Before you do that, I just want everyone to know that please have your architect, go through where they want their movement joints to be. It's not as a tile installer, it's not your requirement. As an architect, that is something you should outline for the end user for sure. Yeah, go ahead, Will. This is great.
The reality is, Jim, nobody, no architect, no designer wants a movement joint. As a matter of fact, we don't want a movement joint either. Tile contractors don't want a movement joint. It's not a matter of want or a visual desire, it's a matter of need because of that building movement, that thermal cycling, the expansion, the contraction. So when we talk about movement joints, let's all remember that we have to have them. It's through need that they need to, that they must be in the assembly, or you're going to have problems with compression, and it's going to fail at some point.
Absolutely.
So
you gonna play that video?
I'm trying to get it up, and I'm having some challenges here. I'm leery about putting up YouTube, but I'll put it up because it's got these pop-up ads. But let's see here.
Entire buildings expand and contract. Concrete slabs move due to live and dead loads. They may sag or creep over time, and even well-bonded tile can crack and come right off the surface. So what's the solution? Tip number 1, accommodate expected movement. Tile assembly should be designed to sustain dynamic forces by moving along with them. And in certain conditions, like direct sun or freezing and thawing, the tiles themselves will actually be in motion. For example, in a 90-foot span of a dark tile, up to 8 inches of space is needed to accommodate the movement that can take place on a hot sunny day. So soft, flexible joints within the tile assembly will help accommodate the inevitable expansion and contraction. Movement joint fillers will absorb compression during expansion, whereas tile and grout, they're just not designed to compress. Flexible sealants will return to the original size after compression from tile expansion over and over and day in and day out, and this we refer to as cycling. Throughout this video, we'll be turning to detail EJ 171, movement joint guidelines in the Tile Council of North America's handbook to get more information on these details. EJ 171 begins, perimeter and field movement joints within a tile installation are essential and required. That phrase is the single most important takeaway on this topic. These soft movement joints are installed at changes of plane and set intervals based on project conditions. Joints in the slab are also honored when carried up through the tile assembly. So give your tile these breaks or they'll break later on their own.
And there you go. Excellent. Point out that I didn't cover the movement joint piece. I apologize, but thank you. And now we have.
Now we have, and Will, I'm going to say that you did a great job, and we have no other questions at this point. I want everyone to know that if you do have questions and you want to contact your manufacturer's technical department, they can answer those questions for you, and they'll make sure you're doing it the right way, at least answering your questions in the right way. So
No, absolutely. You know, we have conversation with architects quite often about this subject. So we'd be more than happy to jump in at design stage or pre-con and make sure that those are addressed and plugged in appropriately.
Great. Everyone's going to receive a thank you email from me tomorrow. If you have questions, please reply back to me. I'll make sure Will and I can get those answers to you and make sure we've answered all concerns, questions, anything in regards to a car dealership installation. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Will. I appreciate it, and look forward to, I believe, in 2 weeks, I think we'll have one more webinar this month. It will be on colors of this year's upcoming colors. So appreciate everyone. Thank you. Have a great week. Will, we'll talk soon, okay?
Thanks, Jim.
Bye, everyone.
See ya. Take care, everybody.